All right, guys, we're joined now by two iron workers who are at the center of a labor dispute that could have implications for the entire country. Let's go ahead and put this American Prospect article up on the screen. It says the iron workers are resurrecting Joy Silk. I'll explain in a little bit what that means. After months of complaints over basic safety standards, a majority of workers in a fabrication plant demanded union recognition, but the company refused and then retaliated. Joining us now, we have Vince DiDonato. He's industrial representative with the Iron Workers International. And we also have Ron Rhodes. He is an iron worker who, because of all of this, is now unemployed. Gentlemen, we're really glad to have you this morning. Thank you so much.
Great to see you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Vince, let me start with you. So there's a majority of workers who want to form a union. And you would think that that would lead to contract negotiations and agreement. That's the way these things are supposed to unfold. What happened instead?
So, the company started playing games as soon as they found out that the workers at G&D wanted union representation. And they started playing games, threatening to close the doors if they voted yes. After the election, they started telling workers, hey, thank you. Now you should go look for a job. And then roughly on March 1st, management walked in, tapped everyone on the shoulder and told them to leave, everyone but two workers who are working there right now. The company's tried to avoid negotiating the contract with these workers. And right now we're, like I said, we're down to two people in the bargaining unit out of roughly 20 in the beginning. And there's roughly, there's well over 100, 125 unfair labor practices filed right now currently. There's probably more to come.
So Ron, let's go into this. You were retaliated against as a result of this vote and by the company. Talk to us about that process and what it was like for you personally to have experienced this retaliation.
I mean, from the very get-go, as soon as we marched on them, everything changed. They started surveilling us. They started bringing up attendance from 8-9 months back. They took away, they would let us put in earn time anytime and take it off. They stopped doing that. Pretty much they just did whatever they could to make our job more difficult.
Ron, I don't know too much about the job that you do, but I have known a few iron workers in my day, and I know they take extraordinary risks in the work that they do. I know it is vitally important to the entire country and to the infrastructure of this nation. And I also know from the reporting from the American Prospect that not only was the company, ultimately did they basically fire almost everyone, but they were taking shortcuts on safety measures that were putting your health and lives at risk. Could you go into that in a little bit of detail?
Well, we build decks that go around the big coal mining trucks for Komatsu, and the tables were too close. We had talked to them about spreading out the tables because we have to flip these decks. We have to do the bottom, then we have to do the top. And they wouldn't move the tables if a chain or some of the rigging would have broke. And I mean, it could have very easily fell on somebody right next to you because they wouldn't spread the tables out more. The chains were never inspected, maybe once in the 4 years that I was there. They were making their own lifting devices, fabricating, and they weren't OSHA approved. That's some of what we went through there.
Vince, talk to us about how Joy Silk comes into play here, because this is about not just the fight for these particular workers, which would be worthy enough, but there used to be a doctrine recognized by the NLRB that basically said if a majority of workers say they hand in cards saying they want to be part of a union, then the company has to have some legitimate reason for suspecting that you don't actually have a majority of workers who want to join a union. And as a secondary piece of this, and this is really important, if you have a host of purported labor violations, as you have in this case, the company can actually be forced into negotiations with those workers in that bargaining unit. The new general counsel of the National Labor Relations Board says that she would like to revive that doctrine. That would be a massive sea change for how workers are able to organize. Right now, the field is extraordinarily tilted against unions and against workers forming collective power. This would make it closer to the default that if you get a majority of signatures on union cards, that you ultimately are going to end up with a union and with a contract. Can you talk about the relevance of that decision here?
Yeah, so on September 17th, September 7th, 2021, a large majority of workers at G&D walked in and demanded union recognition. And if you prove beyond a doubt that the majority of the workforce wants a union, Joyce Silk basically states there is no reason to continue this fight and push out an election so that the company has an opportunity to bring in union busters, fear tactics, intimidation, the lying, cheats, and threats that they always do in every single election out there. And so these workers on September 7th, they marched on the boss without a reasonable doubt of majority force or majority support. And the company refused to recognize that they wanted the ironworkers to represent them. So at that point, we filed a petition, but the board's stance is, why do these workers have to endure this fight? They went through 3 union busters during this process. The company now has 2 attorney firms handling this. They've spent millions of dollars to break a bargaining unit of 20 that fully support a union, and they still do. They're still fighting for this, and they're not going to stop. With Joyce Silk, when the company starts breaking the law, it's dealt with a little bit sooner. There is possibly, you can get a 10J injunction a little bit faster because the laws say that if you prove beyond a reasonable doubt that you have the majority workforce, if the company refuses the bargain, that is immediately a bad faith bargaining charge. And when the board hears that, if the company is found guilty, they will be forced to negotiate with that group right then and there. We could have been negotiating the afternoon of September 7th instead of waiting into November, going through the election process. We have 3 wrongful termination cases filed because of what the company done and with their tactics. And now we're sitting where I believe 10 or 12 workers on March 1st had retaliatory layoffs. There was a couple workers that left right before that because they seen the writing on the wall. They seen the games the company were playing, and they couldn't handle it no more. They needed to go look for jobs to support their families.
Yeah.
The workers were working overtime prior to the election, and they weren't allowed to work overtime after the election.
Wow. Yeah, this is just so completely ridiculous. I mean, and Vince, lay it out for people in terms of what recourse that you have under the current system with the NLRB and with the current regime. I mean, how hard is it going to be for you guys to get what you rightfully deserve?
It's going to be a battle. I mean, we've got labor laws, but they need to be enforced. They need to be stronger. They need to be enforced quicker to help workers when, before they actually get into a situation of a retaliatory layoff or a lockout or anything of the sorts. We're going to fight this all the way. We're not going to stop. The company broke the law, in our opinion, and we're going to fight that, and we're going to see it all the way through. We're requesting 10J injunctions to help with negotiations. We are still trying to negotiate because there are 2 workers still in the bargaining unit, and we're not going to stop. One thing that we're asking the board is, use this to help bring Joyce Silk back. The workers in this country obviously need it, looking at the workers at G&D and other cases across the country. The workforce is tired of being cheated, exploited, and abused. They're standing up and they're going to fight for it. And we need this.
Yeah, and I think it's really important for our audience to understand that this is a change that NLRB could make that would impact not just you all and bring a just conclusion to your struggle, but would significantly make it easier for workers across the country to unionize in shops where a clear majority ultimately wants to. And that's why this case has such importance nationally. Ron, let's just close with, what has this been like for you? How are you getting by Now you're unemployed. You're in the struggle, you're in the fight. It's hard to say how long it's going to take for it ultimately to be resolved. And is there something that our audience can do if they support your cause and they support the direction of bringing back Joy Silk? Is there some way that they can be helpful?
That'd be more of a question for Vince on that. I don't really know.
Okay.
Yeah, this is my, sorry.
Not at all.
I mean, Vince knows.
Well, you can certainly speak to, though, how you're getting by and how you're doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, my pay went to about half, a little bit less than half a week. So I've fallen behind on some bills. It was so sudden. I mean, they just walked up to us on the 1st, like he said, tapped us on the shoulder, told us to come over for a meeting. They read us a letter from Komatsu saying that we had finished all our orders when we were all in the middle of building decks. And so, I mean, it was just a huge surprise. I mean, so I'm just trying to eke by until I can find something.
Yeah.
Must be tough, man.
Vince, is there
you wanna speak to
something?
that?
Yeah, is there something our audience can do to be helpful?
So one thing that we're asking right now is we've got an Iron Workers Rising page. We've got a G&D Integrated union website. We're asking people to get on there, support these workers, keep an eye out. We're going to have some call to actions, but, push on your local politicians, your building trades, and everyone involved, the NLRB. The workers of this country need Joy Silk. The workers of G&D need support. And so those are kind of some of the things that we're asking for right now, and we're doing our best to assist the workers as we can.
Great. Well, we'll have a link down there in the description to what you just mentioned. We really appreciate you gentlemen joining us today, and we're definitely with you guys, so please keep us updated as well so we can tell our audience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks,
Absolutely.
guys.
Thank you guys so much for watching. We really appreciate it. We love all of your support, and you're just helping us, build a media company which is able to bring you the stories like the ones that we just did, and Amazon as well. Also, just an update for everybody on the demonetization front. My monologue yesterday on Taylor Lorenz was found not suitable for advertising.
Did you get an answer on that, by the way?
By the way, I reached out to YouTube. We appealed the decision, as we do, and it has got no answer. It remains limited ads, which means we'll make like YouTube premium money or whatever. But it was also one of our top performing segments of the day yesterday. Interesting, okay? About how some of these things happen. Just pointing to you. I'm sure they'll give me some BS explanation now that I've talked about it on the show. But listen, this is why we rely on you, because you rely on this and this unsteady flow. And now because Taylor's crying and she's upset, we can't make any money off of the work that we do. It's why we need your support, not only for keeping the bills getting paid, but we've got some big stuff coming up, which I'm pretty excited to announce.
Yeah, we got some things coming. By the way, did you see Taylor's response to the...
No, she blocked me. I have no idea what she said.
No, not her response to what you said.
Yeah.
She was outraged at the segment itself.
Oh, yeah, I know. Yeah, I put some of that in there.
She's, I guess, being harassed more. And so it's like... Anyway, I guess it's MSNBC's fault she's being harassed today. We appreciate you guys. That's the bottom line. You enable us to do what we do without fear or favor, and to try to create, a better information ecosystem that is doing its best to sort of sort through what are complex issues and to create a, more democratic, better informed country. So thank you for being a part of that. We are eternally grateful. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll be back here on Thursday. Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.